yesterday I came across a clip from Gayle King's and Charles Barkley's show on on CNN. I've never watched the segment of that show. I don't watch TV really, so I don't really watch any of these shows. But I came across a segment from this show, and in the thumbnail, they had a picture of NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. And I'm like, Adam Silver? So I click on it to listen to what they were talking about. And to my surprise, Commissioner Adam Silver basically went out there and admitted that the NBA has a real problem with the product. And they're looking at many ways to improve it. So for those of you who didn't hear what he had to say to Charles Barkley, I want to play it for you now. I'm going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what he had to say here.
One of the suggestions, the All-Star game didn't go well. It's been kind of fluid the last few years.
See, I thought it went well. And then I came back to work that I said I thought it was a great time because I love that event. Charles goes, no, I didn't think it went well. I did.
Well, it wasn't appeasing to the fans. Have you ever considered the United States against the world?
Well, no, it's true. And speaking of Barcelona, so we've thought a lot about that. And I think our feeling going into Indiana for the All-Star game this year, and you're obviously both there, was we had one more opportunity to go, in essence, back to basketball. That Larry Bird was sort of our honorary captain. You think of basketball, Larry Bird, Indiana. We'd gone back to the traditional East versus West format. We'd move away from that draft we were doing the last several years. We had done those sort of kind of like special endings, so we went back to 48-minute game. We talked to players before the game, and you're right. I mean, I had fun. I think fans had fun who were there and seeing players, and it was a great weekend, but it wasn't a basketball game. Yeah. And had I not seen what happened this year, I think we were ready to do U.S. versus international. I'm just wondering now, and it's a good conversation to have, whether this generation of players, and the teams are complicitous too, because nobody wants them to play hard at the All-Star game.
Nobody wants them to get hurt.
Nobody wants them to get hurt. Yeah. They see it as a mid-season break. I think of something that was a huge attraction. For example, Sabrina against Steph.
Sabrina. That was my favorite. That was a highlight.
I mean, it says so much about the game. Yeah. I think of, again, our generation, Billie Jean King, Bobby Riggs, where it was the battle of the sexes. This was the opposite. This was, as Sabrina said, just two great shooters out on the floor. So I think maybe, as opposed to trying to create a super competitive basketball game, which I'm not sure the teams or the players really want at that moment.
Do you think
we should do more fun.
No,
well, it's interesting. I've talked to, I'm sure you have too. I talked to a lot of players after the game, and I didn't get the sense that they went out there and said, well, we know what the league wants, and we know they want us to, TNT wants us to play hard, but we're just not going to do it. I think it's just sort of, once they got out there, I think particularly young players, they see it as, again, a mid-season break, an opportunity to have fun, an opportunity to take break from a very long season. I mean, we roughly have 1,300 games over the course of the year, all incredibly competitive games, and I think they see that as something different. They see it, there's always an entertainment aspect to our league, and I think it shifted from when you were a player. And I think to the point where when I saw the popularity of Steph versus Sabrina, see what's happening in the women's game, that we should just be looking to do different things and just make it a celebration of basketball. We're going to look at U.S. versus international. I just think maybe we're past that point where we're going to play a truly competitive game. And by the way, it's happened in other sports.
So you heard what the commissioner had to say. If you listen to him, first of all, Gayle King was confusing me with some of the points that she was making, because they were like, yeah, it was a bad product. Everybody agreed. And she was like, well, no, I didn't think so. I'm like, well, apparently you don't really watch basketball and don't understand the general sentiment of fans. People didn't enjoy it. I feel like she was commenting on that thing and she didn't really understand the subject matter that she was talking about, but just wanted to weigh in, just to weigh in. That's the first thing. Let me get into the second thing. The NBA has an issue that it needs to address. It goes beyond to reiterate the point, what I have to say and what other people have to say. People are not tuning in the way that they used to. If you watch the last two All-Star games, no one walked away from that contest and was like, oh, this is a great game. No one. Not even the commissioner of the league. He was embarrassed. And basically what I found out in that soundbite was that Larry Bird was the unofficial captain over both squads and gave those guys a pep talk about being competitive. and then they went out there and wet the bed. If that doesn't raise the alarm bells, then we have some real problems. We have some real problems. He spoke about players needing a break and all of that stuff. A long season. Talking about it's a long season. This season has been as long as it's been since for the last, 15, 20 years. All those other guys, their predecessors were still playing the same 82 game season, playing the same, the same 82 games. So how can you be talking about as a long season when players today load manage and rest more than ever? How is it a longer season when players are playing less today? How? And the minute they now put in a policy that would affect their checkbooks, now you have everybody all over the internet crying. Oh, this is unfair. Oh my God, this is unfair. Because now you're taking money out of this guy's pocket. Now you're taking money out of that guy's pocket. Oh my God, this is just unfair. The unfairness to me. Oh my Lord, it's so unfair. It's so unfair. Like, it's unfair. You have guys running around crying all over the internet that the NBA put in a policy to stop the madness that had basically run amok all over the league, where teams were sitting down players and players were sitting down when they were perfectly healthy, and the paying customers were the ones to sit there. They were the ones that basically were sat there footing the bill for all of this madness. And the minute the NBA says, no, we got to change it, all of a sudden the players start complaining. The NBA is the only sport that has athletes that are totally tone deaf to the pain. Cause I will never understand it.